jewellery industry right now is AI and how AI will affect the industry, how it will affect jobs, and how it will affect manufacturing and design processes. And we're going to explore what's happening now, and we're going to look at insights as to what may happen in the future. So firstly, I'd like to introduce the panelists, starting on my left with Paola De Luca. I'm sure many of you already know Paola, perhaps best known to some of you for introducing the trend book here. Paola is a creative director. Then we have David Block, who is the CEO of Sarine Technologies, based in Israel. Thank you so much, David, for joining us today. And Sara, Yood, who is the Deputy General Counsel of the Jewelers Vigilance Committee in New York City in the US. Firstly, if I could ask each panelist just to briefly introduce yourselves and say how your work is linked to AI, and a few general thoughts about AI before we get into the discussion. Starting with Paola.
Is it now? Now it is. Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here, and thank you for inviting me, David and CIBJO and the president, of course. It's always an honor to be in front of such an amazing audience. Well, I've been in this business for like few decades, and I've dedicated my life on understanding how consumer culture is linked to our industry and how we can bring insights to the jewelry sector. Because of that, of course, I'm very involved in innovation and strategy. My focus has been mainly in design and product directions and branding, but most important, creative intelligence. AI, it is an inevitable revolution which is happening. There is no choice. It's like when digitization started, so we just have to embrace it. And I'm here to just talk about it and help everybody, including myself, to enter this realm of AI.
David.
Yeah, hi. Good morning to everyone, and thanks for inviting me, and good to see you all. I'm David Block. I'm the CEO of Sarine Technologies, with technology company. I guess the best kept secret in the industry. Just to give you an idea, probably in this building, about 95% of the diamonds that are sitting here in the beautiful designs have gone through our technologies away from the beginning of the pipeline, from the mines as rough diamonds and being converted into polished diamonds. Just to give you an idea, about 100 million diamonds go through our technologies annually. Naturally, as a technology company, AI is second nature. And due to the quantities of data that go through our technologies, and AI is very much based on data and machine learning, that's been a very significant part of what we've been doing over the last few years, which we'll talk about going forward.
Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Sara Yood. I am Deputy General Counsel at the Jewelers Vigilance Committee based in New York. We are a trade association focused on the U.S. industry, and we help our members with legal compliance and ethics. So I think my role on this panel is to be the doomsayer, to say I am very scared. But from a legal perspective, I think we can think about AI in both positive and negative ways, because it's helping us achieve so many things. But it may also be infringing on existing rights that we have. So I'm so excited to dig into this today with this wonderful panel.
Excellent. Thank you, Sara. So essentially we have three experts in three separate areas of the jewellery sector here today. Paola obviously is very knowledgeable about design, and we'll talk about how AI is impacting upon design. David is a technologist, and we'll talk about diamond grading and how AI is impacting upon that and what will likely happen in the future. And Sara, last and definitely not least, is going to be talking about order, keeping some kind of legal framework to this massive revolution which is coming. As one colleague said, Steve, that this potentially within our industry could be just as big an issue as the invention of the internet itself going forward. So this panel is lined up in a particular order for a reason. I'm going to maintain the order as we go through as much as I can. And before we start, I just want to say we will really encourage questions from you during this panel. So if you have a question, just literally wave your hand hard at me like this so I spot you. And I would ask you also, please do identify yourself before you ask a question. And we really would love those questions. And if there aren't any questions during the session, we'll give you a chance to ask questions right at the end. So starting with Paola.
Yes.
Paola, you gave a very fascinating presentation yesterday in the launch of the Trend Book 2025 about AI, and not everybody here may have seen that presentation. So could you tell us a little bit about, firstly, the present, how you see AI impacting upon jewellery design right now, and then a sort of a vision, your own vision as to how you see AI impacting upon jewellery design and jobs in the future?
Well, the AI is here already and is already impacting. I mean, it's interesting that we decided as a Trend Vision team to develop the entire Jewellery Trend Book 2025 with AI. So the book itself was already created with a good percentage of, the technology of AI, meaning that we have incorporated only AI artists. So every image that you see in the trend book is produced by AI artists. That creates an emotion that was curated by us, and everything was curated, all the themes, all the collection. Now, the data collection at this time, we still are collecting, but then I'd like to connect to my friend later here, because AI will scan data collection. When we talk about design, this is what is very interesting and is important to say. We approach design as design thinkers, not just design in the act of the rendering something. Design has an holistic approach, and for us, design is understanding consumer, creating product, reading data, understanding consumer sentiment, and AI can allow you that. It's about creating product and forecasting/predicting how many product consumers may buy in that particular direction versus another one, and therefore develop product that is needed realistically in the market. And even more, I'll go into, and then maybe I'll connect my friend here next to me, about how many stones you might need to buy, what kind of stones, how many diamonds, what kind of colors. So in a way, we become sustainable in predicting, or at least mapping, our present future through the help with AI. Of course, we are going to face my other friend here, ethical issues that we face honestly already with or without AI. Because many people are walking around from ages, getting inspirations from windows, from magazine, about other brands, from ever, the beginning of time. AI maybe will tweak a little bit in more realistic way, but that's where human being and creativity will enter.
Okay, so if I may ask a quick follow-up question, Paola. I was at another trade show earlier this year in Europe, and a very well-known jewellery historian, Jack Ogden, gave a presentation about his perspective on AI. And he said that he, as a completely non-talented jewellery designer, just went to ChatGPT and said, look, I want a cohesive jewellery design inspired by Cartier, lilies, and the Art Deco period. What can you give me? And immediately he got a coherent response that looks kind of reasonably good.
Yeah.
Now, listening to your presentation yesterday, one of your panelists, Ms. O'Rourke, Sienna O'Rourke, kind of gave the opposite point of view to that, because she said actually the human interface to the AI when seeking a design concept needs actually to be quite savvy and sophisticated to get the best out of AI. But just wondering what your own perspective is on this.
I absolutely agree with Sienna, because myself, I started working with AI, both with ChatGPT, both with OpenAI, API, and other platform. Number one, the first thing that I will advise everybody is to take a quick course. I did personally, took a course with MIT, Implication on Business Strategy. It's a 6-week course on with MIT online, just to understand the potential and the opportunity. You don't become an expert, but let's put it this way, you know a lot compared to the average. And it's not that easy. So the prompt that a designer, an illustrator, a photographer, by prompt mean the inputting on, and we're going to get specific later, NLP, natural language processing, and this is the real revolution. The real revolution is that in the past, we needed to program machines, machine learning, with programmers. Now, the machine, meaning the robot, the computer, is going to be programmed by us teaching them, the platform, what we want. So the better we become in prompting, meaning encoding, inserting information, and the informations are words. Now, it's not that easy that you just say, well, can I have that? Now, if someone is not an expert like this gentleman, maybe get something. I got something too. But the more you get to the next level of refinement, you don't have control. And that's where you need to be an expert. It's the same when you need to do your own website and you try to do it. It's the same when you are, when 3D design or laser printing came out, everybody were doing, after like 6 months to a year, everything looked the same in the industry. They were like open work, lace, or geometry, because everybody were just like going to the machine, bringing the lace, bringing the geometry, bringing a pattern. After everybody started realizing that they looked the same and they couldn't have like good margins, they became interesting. So they started layering casting, and they started layering the printing, and they started adding more technology. That's where creativity and human thinking, it's irreplaceable.
Yeah, and your conclusion at this workshop session yesterday was that human creativity will prevail over AI, but we'll explore that a little bit later. So moving on to David Block of Sarine Technologies and diamond grading. Obviously, your technologies encompass the whole supply chain of diamonds, David, but can you tell me how Sarine Technologies are using AI today to enhance the technology of the diamond supply chain, what you're doing specifically with regards, say, to grading, and a little bit your perspective on the future, how this will evolve?
Maybe I'll start off with another example, not to do with technology, just to complement what Paola was saying. We, a couple of months ago, acquired a gem lab, a US gem lab, and we started drafting the agreements. And we've got an internal attorney in-house. And our business development manager asked ChatGPT to write a draft contract based on the business points. Parallel, our internal attorney worked with the other side's lawyers to get the initial draft contract. And she was actually a bit shocked when our business development VP gave the draft. Now, initially she was shocked because, okay, this is going to replace me. But once started diving in, it was a very good starting point. But, and I think that goes to the design aspect, exactly. It's just a starting point. It speeds up the process. It enables you to start at a better place, just like a template contract that another legal firm will give you. It's a good starting point, but then you need to put in the details, the understanding of the deal, and the same goes with design. So maybe just another example from a different world on AI and how it can contribute, and it's not necessarily a placement for creativity, whether that be legal creativity or whether it be design creativity. Going back to AI, AI is a bit of a catch-all phrase, and a lot of different types of artificial intelligence and different aspects that it's used. One of the things that we're talking about here in design is creating generative AI. We're doing actually something a little bit different. And when we talk about diamond grading, our objective by using AI is to create a repetitive, consistent process and be able to create a consistent result time and time again when inputting certain data. So we have two challenges. One is the ability to create that data. How do we create data that can be used for diamond grading, which is basically complex types of imagery and other aspects that we input into our machine learning processes. And second is then achieving a repeatable result using the machine learning algorithms. And that's what we'll be doing. We'll be developing technology to basically create the data, so creating the imagery or the information needed for color grading, symmetry grading, cut grading, clarity grading, fluorescence, and then being able to turn that into a consistent grade over time. And you need a lot of data to do that. And I think in our case, it's a little bit different, and Sarah's not going to be too frightened because we don't use data that we're not authorized to use. We get the data from our clients. The clients provide us the data in order to build the machine learning algorithms that can do the grading over time. So it's data that is willingly provided. It's not data that we collect from the market or from the public, and therefore there's less, I think, legal aspects that are connected over there. I'm quite confident that over time, most repetitive tasks that don't need creativity, whether, as I said, be design, legal, or other, machine learning will be able to contribute significantly and replace those tasks in a much more consistent way, and diamond grading, I think, is one of them.
Yeah, so can you elaborate a little bit about diamond grading then? How are you currently using AI at Sarine Technologies to boost the efficiency of diamond grading? And what is the outlook for diamond grading using AI in the future? How will it likely evolve?
So one of the aspects is consistency. It's no secret that when doing grading, which is not a deterministic process. It's a process that if you give a diamond to 10 different people, you're not necessarily going to get the same grade. It's a non-deterministic process. Unlike, for example, if we take a cut grade, you have different parameters, the angles, the heights, the diameters, and if you input those information, you're going to get a deterministic grade. When you talk about color grading and clarity grading, it's not a deterministic process. It's a person looking at it, he's been trained to, just in the same way that I can say that a color, when you teach a child, this is blue and that is blue and that is blue, and he'll determine a color that he's never seen. Diamond grade is the same, whether it be color grading or clarity grading. So it's not deterministic, and therefore the way that we approached it was through machine learning. We provide data, we take diamonds that have been graded through human beings with certification, and teach the system with tens of thousands of data sets. And over time, the system is now able to receive a diamond that it's never seen before, because there are endless possibilities of how clarity can appear in a diamond, and be able to predict then what the clarity grade will be. So that's the kind of process that we're doing. It's based on hardware technology that sits not necessarily in a grading lab, but can sit at a client, at a manufacturer, at a wholesaler, capture the data, upload it to the cloud. Algorithms then run the grading process and return a result. So I think that if we look at the next years, I don't know if that's 2 years or 3 years or 5 years, I think the whole concept of what grading is in the industry and how it works is going to change totally because of technology that can do that process in a very consistent and repeatable way.
So what will this mean for jobs in diamond grading going forward?
You know, as a technology company, I don't think I sit on any panel, I don't get that question about jobs, and it's not necessarily only about grading, it's about other technologies. And I think if you look at general over the last 100 years, from the Industrial Revolution to the IT, jobs don't disappear. They evolve and they change. Okay, so if you look at, and give you an example, I'll take for one of outside of the industry and one from in the industry. A web designer, that didn't exist 30 years ago. The internet brought along a huge amount of jobs that are now created, and a web designer might not exist in 30 years' time. And I think one of the things that we need to realize is that when we, and again, the average age group over here decided when we were 20 what we want to do when we grew up, we decided on a certain profession, on a certain job, and we probably expect that we're going to retire under the same job. In my opinion, my children, who my eldest is 14, they may not be doing the same job for their whole life, and their job may evolve very significantly over time or even disappear. And that's not a bad thing. So I don't think jobs disappear, they change. And I'll end with an example from the diamond industry. We, 25 or 30 years ago, when we introduced the first technology for diamond planning, or how do you take a rough diamond and turn that rough diamond into a polished diamond, I was slaughtered with accusations that were going to kill different job positions. And once upon a time, there was a job called a diamond cleaver. I don't know who in the... So there was a diamond cleaver. And there were probably a few thousand of those jobs in the industry, a lot of them in Israel, in Belgium, and in the more advanced diamond manufacturing centers back then. I'm talking about 20 plus years ago. And we were told that this is going to replace those jobs. Today, I can say on the same kind of position of how do you turn a rough diamond into a polished diamond, our technology has created over 100,000 jobs. Okay, so the type of jobs evolved. It's people that are computer literate, people in India, in Africa that are computer literate. So it's evolved and progressed people in terms of knowledge and understanding. And it's created a lot of jobs, because once upon a time you could extract maybe 20% yield from a rough diamond. Today you can extract 40%. So it's created a lot of value. That value goes back into the diamond industry and into the pipeline. So the claims that jobs are taken away by technology, it's always in the air. Every time we think now it's going to happen, but I just don't agree with it.
Thank you very much. So moving on to Sara. Sara, I would like very much, if I may, to ask you a question out of the box here a little bit.
Go for it.
Let's just, it's a hypothetical question just to kick off.
Is this law school?
Well, let's just imagine for a moment this were a world in which there were no lawyers and no legal system at all. And AI within the jewellery industry were to obviously continue to progress right across the sector. I mean, what would the consequences be if there was sort of no legal protection and the AI were to continue to pervade the industry across the board from design to manufacturing?
Sure. So I think the first question really that comes to mind without legal protection is who's going to protect designers? So if all of these artificial intelligence systems and ChatGPT and things like that can take elements out of existing designs, combine them into other designs, there will naturally be some infringing work on original aspects of design. And so without a legal system, there will be no remedies for those who have infringement. I think also there will be a huge question of ownership of design, right? So we have these technologies, these computers, or algorithms, whatever you want to call them, creating work. And, our existing legal systems have ways to protect the creation of work and creators. Without that, just because you're the person who made something using artificial intelligence doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to own it, because the law has to say that you get to own it. And so those are two of my largest concerns. Without legal protection, I'm worried about existing designers, and I'm worried about the people who are using these tools to create. How are they going to protect their work in the future?
So back to the real world again, in which there are lawyers and legal systems. Right now, what is the main priority of your focus regarding AI in the jewellery sector? What kind of cases are you dealing with in general terms, and what are the challenges for you?
Certainly. So related to the two things that I already mentioned, I am very concerned about designers whose work may be infringed by AI, by ChatGPT. I think, in our earlier panel today on intellectual property, we were talking about the challenges of obtaining protection and maintaining, defending your work. And if only parts of it are being taken and used in other things, I think it's going to be even more difficult to protect your work. And so protection will be even more important. Registration, investment in legal work to make sure your work is not being infringed. But I think the systems themselves are maybe, I don't want to say flawed, because I don't think there is a flaw in the system. I think it's just a natural product of the system, which is, let me take all of the information that I can find and reuse it and make that into something new. In copyright law, there's a concept called derivative works, which basically means if you own a copyright, you own all of the future uses of that copyright by anybody else for a certain period of time. So for using outside of the industry, let's say I write a song, and then somebody wants to sample my song and put it in a rap song, for example. That is, they have now created a derivative work based on my copyright, and I own it. I own what they did, because that's my right as a copyright holder. And so if AI is going to be creating all of these works that may be derivative, then perhaps I, the owner of that copyright, own the work that AI created. However, in the US at least, the Copyright Office has said works authored solely by AI are not eligible for copyright protection. So if you as a business are relying solely on artificial intelligence to design your things, you're not going to have copyright protection for your work. And therefore your work, it will be legal to infringe it. So that's where I think the human element that Paola was talking about is so essential, because the Copyright Office has said artificial intelligence can't be an author.
So if non-talented jewellery designer aspirant David Bruff were to go to ChatGPT and ask for a coherent jewellery design inspired by Van Cleef & Arpels' Alhambra collection, but with a twist, and say applied to 1970s style and incorporating lilies, and I get a cohesive answer. Is it mine?
No. The short answer is no. I think that I'm really looking forward to case law about this, because we have to see what judges think about it. We have to see what juries think about it. But in my personal opinion, not speaking on behalf of any company or anything like that, I don't think so. Because I think you've used the internet's power of the brand equity that Van Cleef has put into their designs over, a really long time. Even though you yourself have not done that work, you have asked a system to do that work for you. And so in my opinion, you do not own that design.
David, can I maybe ask Sarah a question? Why is that any different than if I look at Van Cleef's collection and think that if I now make an adaptation with lilies and put it under whatever era I want and do that manually through a CAD/CAM design, any different?
It's not. It's not
just a
actually
tool.
different. And that's the thing.
And that will be covered under copyright.
Yeah, no. So copyright law, I think there's a myth that exists in copyright, which is if you change, at least 4 items in a design, then therefore you're not infringing copyright. That's not true. If you are truly trying to be like, I want to make this Van Cleef, but I want to make it not Van Cleef enough that I can own it, that doesn't necessarily work. And Van Cleef can then say, look, they were inspired by our design, they had access to our design, and they can sue you. They may not always prevail, but they certainly can try.
But that's what happens with every designer today.
Yes.
They're inspired by other designs, by other works of art, by everything that they see. They're inspired by it.
And you can make an argument. So, one of the things I tell young designers a lot of the time is if they're looking for inspiration, look at jewelry catalogs from before 1924 in the US, because anything 1924 or earlier is in the public domain and free to use. So if the jewelry that you're basing your design on was designed before 1924 and we're in the United States, then you can do whatever you want.
I have a question. Hi.
Oh yeah, please
I'm Elle
identify
Hill.
yourself and your sector.
Absolutely.
And go ahead.
Sure. My name is Elle Hill. I'm the founder and CEO of Hill & Company, fine jewelry, diamond, and gemstone launch and growth experts. And I witnessed your trend vision on the stage yesterday. And when we go around and we look at artists, we're looking for non-derivative fonts of creativity. And some of the imagery, especially by the young lady who was the final presenter, Sienna, have an absolute fingerprint, an absolute identity. And she used AI to create it, but I can't imagine that she prompted, be inspired by this, that, and the other. It was another tool, not unlike a pencil for her. So how do we take that away from her just because she used that tool?
Great question. I'm not saying that we should take that away, because I think that in and itself, the direction is what should be protected. And so I did tell you all that the Copyright Office in the US has said that artificial intelligence cannot have ownership of a copyright. They also just opened up a comment period to say, we're open to suggestions on this. I believe in the market,
Not that I don't consider myself an expert, but let's put it this way, I'm a curious individual. Blockchain is already an answer. Blockchain saves digitally every, property, design, anything. So the truth, we are at the beginning of an incredible journey where all these individual possibilities and technology have to be linked, and that's why I call it an holistic approach. So when you use blockchain technology, you're able to trace from the beginning to the end around the globe who owns one particular design, song, literature, anything. In addition, I think we have to start including NFTs with laws, and NFTs are images that can be controlled by blockchain online. So if someone creates such an amazing design in jewelry, which is challenging these days because humanity did everything. You understand? Everything. Really. It's like, and the sky is still the limit in terms of creativity because there are unimaginable things that I honestly, You know when I see imaginable? Online. When I go online and I see this AI artist, the native, meaning the Gen Z and younger, or a little bit older, that they are playing with AI, and they are playing and proposing new product, ideas and concept to the big companies, the Gucci's, the Nike, the Bulgari. They are playing with design in their account. They're putting their logo on it, and they are pitching clients online by proposing new ideas. These people are kicking. You know what I mean? I can't say because I'm in public, but they are good. You know what I mean? They are very good, and I see. So that's why. What is the blockchains? It's easy. That's a solution. It's right there. NFTs. You come up with a new design. You do an NFTs. You put it online. It's linked to your brand. That's your design, and that's it. Can they copy it? Maybe they can twist it. Because listen, this is a serpenti without a serpenti on top, right? Because guess what? This is a component. In my world, in our world, this is a component. This is a component. You understand? This is not Hermes. Hermes took a chain, a grumetta oval chain, then it's being produced by people, factories. This is a component, it's gas tubing from the 1940s, and actually, the 1940s it was created, and everybody can use it. So was the twisted cable that David Yurman took, which is produced by companies in Italy and also abroad. Of course, the good companies, they make it flexible and they have memory, and the other one not. And so is the chain, and then you don't own it. So actually, that particular bracelet is Etruscan inspired, that bangle. So everything is debatable. I believe in creativity should be free. Creativity and art. Well, sometimes I teach at school, at professor at FIT, at Yood, Italian Design Institute, and when I have designers, young kids, they're like, "Don't copy me." They're like this. They're like, I remember once I was in New York at FIT, this guy was like this. I was like, what is that? It's like, well, I don't want them to see what I'm doing. I said, that's not what creativity is about. Creativity is about sharing. We are born with talent to give energy and beauty to the world. I get ideas from him and he give it. It's all about getting together. The non-talented people are scared that they're. When I'm copied, I'm flattered. When I'm copied, I'm flattered, honestly. And that's what it is. Like he says, you walk around the show, people come here, guess for what? To buy and to get ideas. That's what it is. With or without AI. That's it.
Thank you very much, Paola. So we have... We have another question, the lady in green and white. We encourage questions. I know people have great concerns about how AI may impact upon their futures in this industry. So please use this opportunity. Wave your hand and we'll take your question. Please go ahead. And please identify yourself.
Yes. Hello, I'm Celine Rose David. I come from Belgium. I'm French, but I live everywhere in the world. I'm legal expert for the courts of Belgium in gemology and history of jewelry. And I am a fan of the Sarine and I love blockchain. And I have a PhD in jewelry history. So we can mix everything. And when I see you, what do I see? A torque at your neck from the 800th century before Jesus Christ. What I see on your arm is a serpenti, but 1,500 years old before Christ, because it is what we had at this time. Yes, it's like a torque, It's a torque. So when I see your earrings, why do I see? I see the first Roman interpretation of circles, which were smaller. But in the 15th century, when you have the Egyptiani who came in Europe, all across Europe, they did something like that. So we can be legal expert, we can be historian, and we can love the new technology. Nothing is incompatible. We are sharing from centuries and millennia a knowledge that we have now. And when I see young people who are creating on their computer something, what do you think they are doing? They are just imagining something with those roots that we have all.
But what are
And-
your concerns?
So my concern is you can be a mix of everything. You don't have to be afraid of the future.
And what about legal protection?
Legal protection. So when I see sometimes design, I say, okay, I've seen it in a museum in New York or in Boston or somewhere else. This is quite a copy of it, but there was no copyright at this time, so this is just an influence.
But
For
there
me,
is
it's
copyright now.
Yes, now we have copyright. So I think I have already copyrights on my own works, but I'm not close to eventually influence, we never know, somebody in the future. It's not a problem. Influence is good. That's what I had to say.
Well, I think that's correct. And I think also that, from a legal perspective, the intellectual property law exists to both protect and promote creativity, right? In the U.S. Constitution, they specifically wrote, so in the 1700s, to promote science and the useful arts, we will protect certain rights for a certain limited period of time. And that was not just, it was not just our, in the US, our founding fathers thinking about, okay, we want to, make this isolationist protection. It was also about encouraging creativity, encouraging human intellect. And I agree that that is very, very important going forward.
But I'm sorry, no, I want to say that, and sorry.
Microphone.
Microphone. I just jumped in because this is, you said you were happy about being a little controversial, but and I'm good at this. And no, we're talking about. I'm sorry, but I hear a lot US, which
That's where I live.
No, but I give you a bad news. No, aspetta, no. There is nothing to clap. I'm a US citizen as well, just to let you know. I'm an American technically. I have a US passport. And we are in a global society. And what happens in the States in terms of law, it might not happen in China. So the reason why I'm saying that's why I dare to say US, we have to be careful, Sarah, because that nowadays US designers are traveling to China because they want their market, because it's an interesting market, and vice versa, Chinese designers are traveling to So when we are provincial, I mean, we only talk about Europe, we talk about Africa. Today, it's a global society. And yesterday, one thing that I'd like to add is about collective intelligence. So either the world decide, and that's why blockchain makes sense, is protecting the world, or is a problem. Because what's happening in America ends in America. If someone is in Europe, maybe they do something else. If someone is in China, they do something else. And it's a big market right there. If someone is in Turkey or is in the Middle East, it's a completely different market. That's why, and I say, we have to not think just nationwide, but on a global level, and that's where United Nations and then CIBJO and IRIS just not only IRIS, but all the organizations, sustainability, because she's my friend, so I talk about as a friend, not just as an organization. But that's my point. I'm sorry. I'm thinking about we are global, and that's what the problem is. What's happening if things don't end in America or in Italy and that's all. Sorry.
Okay, it is a very quick question, and then I'll carry on with the structure for a little bit. But go ahead. Go ahead.
I do have a question. And
Please identify yourself to the audience.
Okay. Iris van der Vieken, Executive Director of the Watch and Jewellery Initiative 2030. When we talk about creativity, we talk also about the integrity, how things are made. And I think if we really want to think about the new consumer and the conscious consumer, I would like to understand, and maybe this question will be taken, how will artificial intelligence contribute to the integrity of the supply chain in strengthening transparency? And especially in today's world where we are, and we are probably at one of the most important moments ever of the industry after the Kimberley process with the new G7 measures, I would like to understand how could that play a key role
Yeah, I'd like to ask David to respond to that one, please.
So in the end, I think where data and in the end helps to resolve that issue is that you cease getting specific perspectives. Okay, you see the industry as industry data. So when you start taking information that is industry-wide, it's not an opinion of a certain entity, organization, or company, it starts becoming, I don't know if you could call it more the truth. So you have objective data, and the more objective data you have, the better. So if you talked about traceability, one of the other aspects that we're dealing with is verifiable objective data that tracks diamonds from the mine to the consumer through technology. The more objective the data becomes, the more industry-wide it becomes, the more trustworthy it is. So I think that artificial intelligence and use of data within the industry will definitely contribute dramatically on supply chain, understanding what's coming, just even from the business perspective, not necessarily only from the perspective you said, but understanding what our supply will be in 3 or 6 months' time. When you have data from an industry perspective, you can now forecast based on what is being consumed by the consumer today, combine that with what's being manufactured, and all of a sudden now you can plan more efficiently. You can reduce stocks in the pipeline that don't move, that create a heavy weight on the industry. So there's a lot of things that can be done, and I think there'll be a huge change in the use of data and AI going forward to create a much more efficient pipeline.
Thank you, David. Now, I'd like to talk a little bit more about jobs and how the framework of the global jewellery industry is likely to change going forward amidst this revolution. Once we've talked a little bit further about jobs, and I really want to try and explore how jobs are going to change, not whether or not necessarily so many jobs will be lost, but what kind of new jobs can emerge potentially. I want to test this panel on this question. Yeah, but before, as we wrap that bit up, I will take more questions. So please store up your questions, because we really want you to raise your concerns, and we've got 17 minutes left, so there you go. So jobs. I was in China recently in June, and I was speaking to a manufacturer there privately, and he was saying to me that, oh yes, we're using AI maximally to boost our efficiency, reduce our costs, and we expect to shed around 20% of our workforce. That's one perspective. So I'd like to go around the panel in order, starting with Paola on design, to give your vision as to how jobs in design will be impacted by the AI revolution going forward. What kind of jobs will be lost? What sort of design departments will shrink? How creative directors will change their vision, and basically, if you like, the employment framework for design over the next few years. How do you see it?
Well, in the creative realm, I feel like, David was saying, in the generative, area of artificial intelligence, art, it's very important, translates in creativity. So I see actually, for sure, we have to upskill our team, for sure. This is the reason why also I felt the urge of bringing innovation to my team by understanding myself better the possibilities, because we are in the, I have someone in my team here, they know already we are taking courses. I make my team, I actually am making a transition plan of restructuring the way we are working, of thinking out of the box. I'm bringing in new talent, being younger, natives, because the natives are definitely more open and skilled in just using it, but also not the, let's say, the late millennials and Xers. Actually, I'm the only Xers of my team, of course, I'm the oldest. But the millennials, I'm also, I'm basically but when going back, I have to refer to David, the repetitive task jobs might be shrinking, but like he said, there are new roles. So the future, and actually the future being in the next few months, there is an association of AI with people. And that's what is interesting. And this is what's going to happen for us also in the creative realm, which is by design we mean and creative intelligence, marketing, communication, social media, product direction. It's using AI in association with, actual employees, actual people that we work with, but they have to upskill themselves for sure. And in the event, and this is where, of course, Sara and the lawyers have to take care of, it's like, of course, not everybody will be willing to change. Not everybody will embrace change. And that's why maybe you have to put together benefit packages for people that maybe they decide to go. Or maybe, so there are some AI ethics that we have to think about and embrace because, because ultimately we take care of human, and
in the case of, say, large manufacturing companies in China and so forth, do you suspect that their creative design teams will shrink or not?
I mean, if the designers are just reproducing something that it's in the market without a concept, they may, yes. It's called the repetitive task. But if the designers are able to do research and curate and create that the fingerprints that Iris was referring about creativity, no. The creative director, if he's a good creative director that does research, does mood boards and puts together a vision and is able to forecast, by forecasting meaning foresee product quantities, stocks, like David was saying, and all that, is going to be strong. But if they're just taking things off the internet and tweaking it, AI is enough.
So, David, let's speak straight, shall we, about diamond grading jobs. Within 5 years, will humans be grading diamonds, yes or no? And how may the jobs in grading and in associated technologies evolve? What sort of new jobs do you envisage that could possibly arise?
So I'm being recorded, so I need to be careful. But yes, and I don't know if it's 2 years or 3 years or 5 years or longer, but because it is a repetitive task, and because there is no real value that is being created by doing that repetitive task by a person, I believe that it will be replaced, period. I ask people when I say that, and they ask me, are you sure? And then I ask them back a question. Tell me one parameter that people can do better than automated AI-based grading. And if you can answer that question, then maybe I'll change my reply. But if you can't answer that question, give me a reason why technology cannot do that job better, then yes, I believe it will be. So my clear answer is yes. I'm not sure on the time frame, but I'm sure that it will. And actually, it will probably happen quicker than I expect. Now, going back to the impact of jobs, I'll take it maybe to a different segment, which I know intimately and have a lot of experience in because we talked a lot about grading, but take diamond manufacturing, okay, which is a complex process, turning a rough diamond into a polished diamond. And it's also a very repetitive task by most. Most companies manufacture the same cookie cutter diamond to supply. And you'll ask them, technology is going to now replace jobs. And I say, for the repetitive tasks, it will. But what will that enable then? It will enable better quality. We've seen that's what happened with technology implemented in diamond manufacturing over the years. Quality improved. We can see a quicker time to market, so we can maybe manufacture just in time, reduce stocks in the pipeline. We can move more to custom design. Everyone manufactures over the years. Round diamonds have been 70, 80%. It's dropping in more fancy shapes and more custom shapes. So if you look at the diamond, developing and designing something that's more creative, when you can do the mundane tasks or repetitive tasks easier through technology, you can use the people for the more advanced tasks, the more creative tasks in manufacturing. Manufacturing doesn't have to be a cookie cutter. So I think that, again, it will evolve. Diamond manufacturing is evolving, will continue to evolve. Technology is a given. It's not going to go away, whether it be us or whether it be other companies. That will continue. So we need to understand that we need to embrace it. We need to use it for the places where it adds value, and then utilize our experienced manpower for the other places where we're actually not putting the effort, not putting the time, because we need to use the people to do the things that need to pay the bills. So I think that the same thing can be applied to basically most areas of manufacturing, diamond grading the same. If I give it a little bit of thought, I can understand, I'll be able to think about where the people will go, what they'll do, but I don't think that we need to hold on tightly to any existing profession just because it's been done and we're concerned about jobs. We need to think about how we can evolve it and how it can change.
Thank you very much. So I'm now going to ask a quick question of Sara, but please do have any questions ready because, I see there's quite a few of them. Boom time for jewellery industry lawyers ahead, by the sound of it. Looking forward, what will be the main areas of concern and work for the lawyers in the industry with regard to AI?
Sure. Well, I think there's an opportunity here. In our last panel, we talked about the cost of protection of intellectual property law rights, intellectual property rights. And I think that, if lawyer time, quite honestly, is the highest source of cost, right? Because lawyers bill at high rates and they spend a fair amount of time enforcing it. If we, as a legal profession, can shorten the amount of time that it takes us to register a design or to protect it or to write a cease and desist letter or whatever it is, we may end up saving money for designers who are going out to try to protect their work. So I think that's an opportunity in the legal field. And it's something we've dealt with in the past, right? Because we've seen, law firms globally outsource to lower cost industries, to outsource a lot of legal work to India, for example, because it can save clients money and they want that. So I think that's something we'll focus on. And then, just in the same way that, you have all talked about how AI is affecting your job, I'm certainly starting to use it myself, trying to figure out, okay, how can this work for me? How can I make this technology useful in my business as well?
I mean, no one's disputing the inevitable march of AI. It's happening, and it's going to happen quicker and quicker going forward, and nobody can stop it either. Questions? So, yes, Esther, please identify yourself and fire away with your question.
My name is Esther Lichtaert. I'm a Dutch blogger and journalist. I write for trade magazines. I also coach and give consultancy. So my question is this. I love AI and I use it avidly at home. And we experiment with everything, from Midjourney to Firefly and everything, and ChatGPT. And I think it's a great potential, and I'm not afraid of it. But we should be cautious. I have a question for you, but also for everyone in the room. Who's using AI in their work today?
It's a lot, considering.
Yeah, I would say that's pushing a third.
It's a lot.
Yeah. That's great.
Considering.
Yeah.
And to follow up, are you positive about it? Hands up. If not, you are all positive about it.
Paula's reaching.
My daughter last week used ChatGPT to decide what to cook. She put in everything in the fridge. She didn't know what to make. She put everything in the fridge and asked, what can I make? So it's in our everyday life already, just to give a really small example.
That's a good idea.
She told me.
I'm going to do it too.
It was her idea.
I already did.
Okay, next question, please. Hands up. Lady at the back there. There's a microphone heading to you right now.
Hi, my name's Morgan Miller, and I'm with the Couture Show. And my question is, how do you see AI's role in the development of sustainability and environmental impact in the industry?
A really good question. Let's start with Sara on that one.
Thank you, Morgan. That's a great question. I think that as I've talked about a lot, the use of terminology in environmental marketing is a really big problem. The word sustainable means absolutely nothing, and people use it all the time. And so I think that the role of artificial intelligence is going to be pulling data through. As David was talking about, we have all of this data that can help tell the story of sustainability. It can tell the story of what the jewelry industry is doing. And the jewelry industry has the benefit of being one of the slowest parts of fashion, right? Our products come out of the ground, they stay out of the ground, they don't go back in, they are constantly reused and refined and put into the market again. And so I think being able to use data to tell that story is going to help the jewelry industry stand out from the crowd.
Paola? Anyone wish to add anything? Anything to add?
Microphone.
Sorry. I think they hear any. So, no, the truth is I wanted to go back a little bit to the thing that, I think was relevant about Sara, and we were talking about nation. At this time, I'm going to ask a question to the president, Gaetano Cavalieri, if you don't mind. I want to ask him a question about how can CIBJOs and the organization protect design and rights and consumer on a global level and not just on a national level, because that's difficult to control. And that's also part of, protecting, it's part of, of the, so this is something that I think is relevant. And that's why when I didn't mean to be, I don't know if it came out rude when I said, because I'm a U.S. citizen, really, and I love the U.S. and I lived there for 20 years. But we have to be careful in being regional, because the world it's huge, and that's why we have, them to make sure that you and everybody is protected. President, to you. Sorry that I disturbed you.
You always do in any case. Let's start with the comment that David did at the beginning. What's happened if in the world, through the artificial intelligence, lawyers are not existing anymore? And I took it seriously, and I went to the conclusion that nobody will have any invoice from lawyers.
That's what I'm saying. We can lower our bills and everyone will be happy.
But said that what CIBJO is doing in order to protect the industry, and designers are part of the industry, such as technologies companies are part of the industry, such as lawyers are part of the industry. I would like, let me stand up 1 second. I would like to first acknowledge the presence in the room of a couple of people. My good friend, Professor Dr. Nifeler from Gubelin, and the acting vice president of Sector A and dean of the CIBJO Academy, which will be officially launched in Jaipur in 3 weeks, Mr. Ken Scarrett, and a few others in the room. Thank you for being with us. But CIBJO is playing, since ever, the role of consumer confidence and consumer protection through the tools that CIBJO is putting on the table to everybody, and they can use the tool or they can leave those tools. It's up to them to choose. And we do it free of charge. We don't ask any money to anyone. Everything is in the website, free, downloadable. They can do that. In terms of designers, protection of the designers, we have done quite a lot in the past. Probably was our fault that we didn't communicate appropriately, or probably was fault of those that, because maybe the artificial intelligence was not there at the time, they didn't make an appropriate research in order to have those tools ready and are ready to put not only in order to be used, but in order to be the base of producing extra ideas, or producing extras methodologies, or producing extras possibility and options
Yes.
towards the industry and the consumer in general. Because when we talk about sustainability, sustainable is a wonderful word, means most probably nothing, but the people is using, why? Wow, because, you know, if I say sustainable, sounds good. Well, the issues related to sustainability are so many.
Exactly.
Are so many.
There are 17 SDGs and people don't even know that.
That, for instance, that for instance, you know, afterwards, we have this conversation, CIBJO and the Watch and Jewellery Initiative 2030, where we will talk about a number of these issues. But what I want to say today, information, data, tools, and capacity to coordinate all this is essential. And one of the things, from mine to retail, we protect from mine to retail, including the designer, but most, in my opinion, essentially is protect the consumer. Because the consumer has the right to exercise their choice consciously. But we can talk for hours about it whenever you wish.
Thank you, President.
Thank you. So thank you very much. So that is a wrap, everybody. We're on time now. Gaetano has kindly said that we'll, I think, go straight into the next session. Yep, we're ready to go. So the next session actually follows on from that. The next session will be an interview that I will conduct with Gaetano and with Iris van der Weken, who is head of the Watch and Jewellery Initiative 2030, essentially about what the organizations are doing to promote sustainability, the future of sustainability, and the kind of progress so far in the so-called global goals, the United Nations SDGs. We're going to explore that in our next session in the next couple of minutes. Thank you very much.